so much for joining me on this 5 ways to increase student engagement on Zoom. And if you like what you're hearing, please hit subscribe so you can see other videos just like this one. Okay, let's get into it. 5 quick ways and action item focused of ways to increase in student engagement on Zoom. All of these have been used by teachers just like you and me on a regular basis. So here's what we're going to do. The first tip is to use a timer. Now, I know this is not something brand new, and you probably used it all the time when you were in your classroom, but sometimes we forget that when we're doing this digital conversation with our students. So I actually use a physical timer when I'm doing this, but you could also use this on your computer. I tend to tell them we're going to go to the fox. This particular timer has animals on it, and so that helps them knowing that's going to be 15 minutes. Having that beginning and end is really helpful for our students to stay on track, especially on these long hours that they have on Zoom. The second tip that I have is to do an unplugged activity. Even though we're on a digital space, we can still do activities where kids are doing hands-on application. So a couple of examples could be a quick draw, writing the ingredients to a particular recipe, writing down the steps they took to get ready in the morning. It could even be as simple as just writing down their favorite music or favorite band. Anything to get their minds moving. You also may want to do something like a simple riddle and see if they can solve it. But that unplugged activity takes them off of the screen for just a minute, has them write down their answer, and then respond back. Now, you may all be doing this, but just remember to try to infuse it throughout your time with your students. So you may do it as a warm-up, midway through, and maybe at the end, just to keep things a little bit popping. The next thing that I have is when you're on Zoom, there's this great opportunity to be able to poll students and collect data, but to do so in a fun way. So I'm going to bring up my Zoom. If you'll see down here at the bottom, there's an option that says polling. When you click here, you can either pre-plug in poll questions, and that's just done on the back end of Zoom, or you can do it live like this and hit add question. And when that happens, it's going to pop up into your actual Zoom web platform. And there you can actually go in and just edit and add a question. Super easy. And then it pops up for students and they're able to access it very easily. So over here, you can hit add poll. Now, the next tidbit that I have is to use the whiteboard. When you want to use a whiteboard to share information, it's really easy to work with students. On Zoom, you click on share screen, and next to your desktop option says whiteboard. All right. This whiteboard allows us to now have an interactive platform with our students. So you can see here, this is what I was playing with before. And I can take my eraser and take it off. I can use text and interact. Hello all. And this also just adds just a little bit of a different element than just sharing screens, just simply showing what's on your computer. You actually have a way to have this interactive opportunity with your students. And the last thing that I want to say is don't forget to do brain breaks. I know, again, simple, but when we're online, sometimes we forget. I like to do lots of brain breaks that have music involved because music is algorithms. And I'm a computer scientist. So for me, they can listen to a song, and when they hear the same thing over and over and over again, I'll say, hey, that's a loop. Just like we've learned when we were learning our programming language. You could do something around dinosaurs or around healthy eating or the ABCs, or even find a cool song about geography, or there are some actual really cool math raps out there. And even if it's not completely in sync, you could think about a way to celebrate what you're learning in other areas that other disciplines are teaching as well. So when you're thinking about working in Zoom, remember to make it as interactive as possible when you are working with your students. I know we're not in our classrooms, but how can we try and think about bringing our classrooms to a digital forefront? All right, so you can use a timer, do an unplugged activity, create a poll for conversation on Zoom, use a whiteboard, and you can use it in Zoom, or there's also this great thing called Jamboard that's in Google. And the last thing I would say is don't forget those brain breaks. It's so important for the kids to get up and move. Thank you so much for joining me on these 5 actionable tips to do right now as you're using Zoom in your classroom. And don't forget to hit subscribe if you like this video and you'd like more tips. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.